Good afternoon, everybody. This is Pete Dragstrom coming to you the second time, but the first time you'll never see. I am from I'm from LetPetePlan@gmail.com, an agent for Boardwalk Travel Agency, and I'm here with my most understanding, wonderful wife.
I'm Jewel Dragstrom, and I sell Style Dots. I'm an independent boutique consultant for them. You can find me at Jewel, Jule, styledotshome.com.
.com, yeah.
Why do I always want to say that? Jewel, Jule, at styledotshome.com. I don't know why. My brain doesn't want to say those words.
This has been a day. But we are here. As I said, this is our second attempt at this video. The first one went a little long, so I decided to erase it.
Okay, not really.
I accidentally erased the video itself, and so we are on this one, and we
part 2
then made some executive decisions about what we're going to be doing. Having a little.
He
bit
calls
more
them executive decisions,
but we are talking about Disney's Hollywood Studios. And I know, I'm not going to... Okay, there goes my pin that I have that actually is a Starbucks pin that actually has things about Disney's Hollywood Studios.
There you go, honey.
I don't know if you can see it that well, but it does have Mickey and his sorcerer's cap, a few other things. But, okay. Hollywood Studios. We're going to start off with some tips and tricks and DAS updates.
Yeah.
If you remember right, I've had a video on DAS, Disney Disability Access Service, and I kind of told you what it is, what it's not. Actually, we're going to go into what it's not, because there are some misconceptions about that.
Yeah, there are.
And then we're going to go into probably the food aspect of Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Right.
Let's start off with
the DAS Pass. What is it not?
Go ahead.
And a lot of people assume with the DAS, the assumption is, okay, I am disabled. I would like to go in to a certain spot and get on the ride faster. That's not what DAS is for. The idea behind it used to be that there still are in some cases, because the queues were made before there was a whole lot of talk of wheelchair access. Mm-hmm. A lot of the queues were made so that there's no way to include the wheelchair on the queue itself.
A lot of the widths
are too small. And so in the case of that, there were some places that took you in a different entrance because of that. And so that got to be the custom, is you got on the ride and you went in a certain entrance that was completely different from everyone else's. Well, as they're creating new rides, they're creating queues that are wheelchair accessible at this point. So a lot of, like, your Minnie's Runaway Railway has this. Your Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in Magic Kingdom has a wheelchair accessible access. I think even the Toy Story one, I think it at least some of it is accessible. And with that, now people can, maybe not wait in line still as long, but at least they have the access to that same queue. With that, they changed the way they were doing it. Instead of going in a different entrance, they wanted to provide a way for those that couldn't stand for a long period of time, or maybe couldn't, they weren't able to tolerate the time, the lights, the heat, the exhaustion, any of those things. And all those things can lead, I don't care whether you're a regular kid, you're an adult, sometimes I melt down in those rides. So, and I do. And so they've come up with another plan for people in particular that have disabilities, whether it be one you see or one you don't.
Well, and then you're right. It is as because a lot of the queues have gotten wider. It used to be that again that if you were in a wheelchair or you were visibly disabled, you would be sent straight to the top, straight to the front of the row.
You're not,
and you get to see if you were in a character meet and greet, you were in the character meet and greet, and they would but no matter how long the line was, you'd come up first, and that's nice, and it's not that they were just trying to be as polite as possible, and then somewhere along the line,
people decided they'd get in a wheelchair just to be able to get to the front of the line.
They ate the apple. If you know, if you understand that reference, you understand. Sin walked in, and people started to abuse it, and people started to expect it. And so
I'm in a wheelchair. I should get to the front.
So they had to make. So they had to make instead of having everybody go to the front of the line at first. They had to figure out ways of doing it. And what they basically do is they take the standard wait time and add it to what time it is now, and they give you a return time.
So, in other words, if the wait time of Mickey's Runaway Railway is 50 minutes... It doesn't mean you're going to get on if you have a DAS. It means
1:40 now.
You're going to get 50 minutes added on to that.
2:30.
Right.
You would probably get something, and you can do this on your
phone.
On your phone.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to get a thing, and you'd have, and it would be kind of like a fast pass, or a lightning lane, in that you have a certain amount of time that you can use it. Sometimes it'll say that anytime after that. So if it's 2:30 and you all of a sudden are having somebody who's having a meltdown at 2:30 and you don't want to go at 2:30, you can come eat later. Something or go, but you can always come later. But you have to use it before you can get another one.
Right.
So to speak.
But that's kind of why they did that, because again, it was it wasn't, and it wasn't always, if you're in a wheelchair and there are 50 other people there in a wheelchair, not everybody can go at the same time. I don't care if you're in a wheelchair or not. Mm-hmm. It just, the intended idea was for everybody to get a fair shot at being able to get there. It doesn't always mean it's an equal shot. It's a fair shot. That's different. So that's what the DAS actually is for you to find something to do in that time before your time to stand in line. Now,
with that said, there are some other ways of dealing with a person with a disability who might not understand that they can't wait, or that it's too hot and they don't like it and stuff. There's ways of getting through that. One is to make sure that they're fully hydrated all the time, which, in our case, make sure they're fully hydrated, but that also means that you want to change them every once in a while. See, because
you need to go to Services for Guests with Cognitive Disabilities. That is actually Disney's site itself.
Yeah, at DisneyWorld.com.
Yep, if you go to DisneyWorld.disney.go.com. They have this on here, and it tells you a little bit about each area. We can tell you some of the things that I thought were interesting that I didn't know. I had seen, last time we were there, I had seen a stroller I knew was a regular stroller.
It was a definite stroller.
It was a stroller, and it had a tag for a wheelchair. And I thought, well, that's odd. How did they get that? Because I'd never heard of doing that. Well, apparently at this point, we have some guests, it says, that with disabilities, that have cognitive disabilities, that sometimes don't necessarily need a wheelchair or don't have a wheelchair for that reason, but they still need a space. They can't walk as long as everybody else. And so they're allowing, if you go to guest relations in the lobby at the parks, they're allowing you to obtain a wheelchair sticker for your stroller, so that child is able to get a disability access pass.
Yeah.
To be able to get, knowing that they can't necessarily, the physically they just still can't stand that long. This gives them the access.
I worked, and well, my wife did too. The school that my son went to had a lot of people who had cognitive disabilities, along with, but they were able to walk, run, sometimes run faster than I wanted them to.
They did.
But there is no way you'd want to run them loose in Disney World.
Yeah, they could get hurt.
Because, one, they get hurt and they have sensory issues. A lot of them have sensory issues.
Yes.
If you see a kid in the park with headphones, it doesn't mean that they can't, they're listening to American
Music.
Top 40.
Yeah, they're not.
It means that they don't like outside noise. They don't like muddled noise. They don't like white noise.
Well, it's too much sensory coming in, because there's lights, there's sounds, there's people talking around them, there's family members, maybe one's crying, a baby's crying in the corner, a ride's making noise. It can be as simple as the tag on their shirt bothering them.
And I will tell you,
so those are all things that they need.
So you see those.
Calming down.
It's not just them being lazy and they're you're just
Yeah.
But, it's because if they don't have them on, I've seen it happen. If they don't have them on, or they're not working or something, it could cause a lot of problems, and you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that at Disney World, and their parents don't definitely want to see that at Disney World. And
I want to tell you something else. We love you all. Love you to pieces. Mm-hmm. Everybody. But if you see a kid melting down, try not to give advice. Just try to be there. If you want to sit there and you want to say, "Can I help you?"
And
there's
ask what you can do to help. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to say, "Yeah, you can help." I might say, "I got it under control." My wife might say that, or somebody else might. But then there are times when we're going we just need somebody to, to make sure the other kids don't,
Right,
and
when they were little.
Our kids are old enough right now. They don't.
But when they were little, it was can you just watch the other two to make sure they're not doing anything else while we're trying to corral the other? So sometimes it's as simple as the child is hot and we don't need you to do anything, but hey, could you go see if you can get a glass of water somewhere and just bring it back? Not even give it to the child, but just give it to us and see if we can kind of talk them down if you don't have anything.
And also, don't assume that you could handle the situation different.
Yeah, you don't live with that case every day.
You're not there 24/7, and we're not trying to get sympathy by any stretch of the imagination, because that little boy has given us more pleasure than anything.
And I'll be honest, we know people with way worse situations than us.
Mm-hmm, we do.
And we are blessed.
But
that being said,
we don't want to show up on YouTube for that reason. If you understand what I'm saying, because there are times when there were times. Nowadays, he's in his wheelchair. We're doing. There are times when it looked like we were about to. Okay.
With that, and again, sometimes it's not to say you can't come up and ask again what's going on, or ask what's wrong, because sometimes you can assume, this, because I've done it. I'll be honest, been there, done that. Thought, child must have autism, and the child doesn't have autism. They've got something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just assume everything that looks like one thing is the same. Because
I've diagnose it.
I've had many people say, he has cerebral palsy. No, my son doesn't have cerebral palsy. Not demeaning that, it's just a whole different case. I've got a whole different set of circumstances to deal with.
Yeah, we have so many acronyms that it's not funny. We have our own alphabet. Okay.
Yeah.
So don't know, and I'll be honest with you. because I used to work in where I did, and I've had training to deal with certain things. Sometimes I assume things that I shouldn't even assume. So, but okay, now.
And if you need to know where there's a good place to take a break, by the way, ask a cast member. And he'll ask for help with cast members too. They're trained in a lot of that stuff. Mm-hmm. They're trained to spot a kid who's having a meltdown, and the best way to deal with that kid. And sometimes they know a better idea than you do.
Well, and I will tell you, and that sometimes mentioned, that sometimes is really cool when you see if they're doing a meet and greet. Mickey can work wonders. Yeah, Minnie can. Any of them can work wonders. They know. They've been trained to. And they're not trained just to wear a costume. They're trained. I mean, they have abilities. Okay, now with that said. We are at Hollywood Studios, and we're going to talk about some food.
Yes, we are. Let's get to our food.
Before we get to another hour-long video. Okay, I'm going to start off by saying some of the information that I've got, and I'm going to run through something fairly quick from the DFB guide. For those of you who don't know what that means,
I'm still whooping for DFB.
That's the Disney food blog, and they have their own YouTube channel, and they do have, it's called DisneyFoodblog.com.
And they even have, like, you can download printed versions of their information.
And they are in the parks every day, and they're trying everything. So they've tried more stuff than we ever have, even though we're in the parks a lot. And some of the people that we know, they're going like, well, you should have done it all by now. No, these people have done it all. Now, they have it broken down into what is, and my
screen
design. They have it into table service, and they have their top 5. And I'm going to just run through their top 5, and I'm going to do it pretty quick, okay?
I understand.
But
you're going to have to go to the top again.
I know. I'm going to have to go all the way to the top. They have the table service. And they have it 5 through 1. And their 5th best table service meal is 50's Primetime Cafe. And again, I'm going to just go through the names. And then they have, oh no, that was number 2. That had to be number 2. Excuse me, because I know number 1 was Brown Derby. No, I guess not.
It isn't.
50's Primetime. Then they have Brown Derby, Hollywood Brown Derby, which is good, but it's, well, never mind. We won't go there yet.
Don't go there.
I know. Okay, there. Okay. Then they had Mama Melrose's Ristorante Italiano. Okay.
You're not good at that. Don't.
I mean either. Sci-Fi Dine-In Theater, and this is just a guide of all of them. They have Hollywood and Vine. I do know that they had a top 5 that had, and it wasn't, Hollywood and Vine was not included in it, but they had a top 5 that had Brown Derby. I think Brown Derby was number 1 and 50's was number 2. Then they had Sci-Fi, Mama Melrose. No, Mama Melrose was 2. That's right. And then they had, but their least favorite. I shouldn't say their least favorite. It was the least favorite of the top 5.
Was what?
I can't remember. But
that's okay. We're gonna give you ours,
and now we're gonna give you ours, and we're gonna explain it. I like, and I'll kind of go back if in a lot of them. My favorite, or no, your favorite. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say we kind of each separately do this. And because we've done this once before, we kind of know what the answer is, but we're going to give you a kind of an overview of some of the ones that would be in our favorites list. Mm-hmm. My favorite in the whole park is the Hollywood Brown Derby. It is a sit-down table service restaurant. It is also considered signature dining, which means it is one of the more expensive of the dining options. I had Cobb salad while we were there, and the Cobb salad has a little different. It's a vinaigrette-based dressing, which I liked. It was a little different because I'm used to having, like, you have your eggs and bacon and those kind of things in that dressing. I'm used to putting more of a creamy stuff on it, and this was not. So it was a little different. The atmosphere was beautiful. It was they have pictures on the wall of in the original Brown Derby.
Caricatures.
They had caricatures, and a lot of the Hollywood stars and celebrities had signed theirs. And they had those. And now this one doesn't have, it has replicas of a lot of them. But they do have some that are originals for them.
Right.
That are actually their versions. And we're not exactly sure. They show you someone. He thinks it may be a gold frame.
There's a gold frame ones that are actual for Disney Hollywood Studios instead of the one in Hollywood.
And I will say there is a lounge area outside, kind of your, like if you want to eat outside, and you can sit out around the edge, especially if the places are very crowded. It gives you a chance to kind of be out there, and you can also see Donald and Daisy Duck.
Yeah. The good thing about the outdoor seating, the lounge, is that you don't really need a reservation for that.
Nope.
Now it's first come first serve. So if it's really busy, you might not get a spot, but it's not something that indoors you need a reservation, and you probably need to book it 60 days out.
I was gonna say because it was busy, and it was not even really busy in the parks, but that restaurant was busy.
And one thing we have found out since living here and stuff is that you can find hard to get reservations around 24 hours before you're going to go visit, because a lot of people will cancel within that 24-hour time.
Because you have just 24 hours before that. You can cancel up to 24 hours before that, and they won't charge you usually.
Now it's only 2 hours.
Oh, now it's only 2 hours. So
it's only 2 hours now. So every once in a while, just check back because somebody might have changed it. I think we got a garden grill that one time. But go ahead. Back to.
What's your number? Well, you already told me your number.
Brown Derby is probably for food wise. If I'm just flat out food.
Yep.
I liked eating the duck, even though I am a big Donald Duck fan.
I enjoyed.
I did.
It was really good.
It was really good. Taste. It wasn't dried out like I had it before.
Duck is a very. It's
sometimes
not a
it can be foul. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry you have to deal with him. Go ahead.
I would have to say for all around experience, one of my favorites is 50s Primetime.
And I get that. That's a good one too.
50s Primetime, and if you've never eaten there, it's the cast members are characters. They're your uncle and aunt. It's not Donald and Daisy. They're family, and you're at mom's or grandma's home, and you go in and you sit down on the old vinyl Formica type
table,
and you have a little TV in the corner, and you're watching Leave It to Beaver and
Dick Van Dyke was on there.
Dick Van Dyke show, clips, snippets,
and a little bit of Walt Disney.
A little bit of Walt Disney.
The old ones.
So you're there. The food is really.
It's the simple comfort food.
Meatloaf, fried chicken. They had shrimp and grits.
They did. They do have a few things. But again, for some people, that's a comfort food.
Yeah, it is. So it's not something to go on a diet with. Yeah. You don't want to eat there all the time.
Because their desserts
are pretty good.
Good, folks.
And they also
peanut butter
have
and jelly milkshake.
They have milkshakes. They have specialty drinks, but they're famous for their peanut butter and jelly milkshake.
And that is really good. It's
I've never had it.
It's good.
But with that, just like Brown Derby, having the outdoor seating and the lounge area, 50s Primetime has a walk-up lounge
area
where you can get peanut butter and jelly shake. And I don't know if you can get food from there, but you could definitely get like.
I know you can go and get shakes and their desserts.
Probably
and stuff.
Desserts there and go around.
They also have a really cool waiting area, and the fact that it's like your living room from
it's like an old living room,
like 50s living room, and you've got the old TVs,
wood panel.
Yeah, it's got everything, and the seats are even.
You'd almost be. You wouldn't be surprised if you caught somebody in the corner smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, kinda.
Although it's Disney, so you're not going to have that happen. I mean, it's still 2023 there, but it's...
Walt may have done it, but you don't get to.
Yeah, Walt be the only one who was allowed to smoke it in his
I'm kidding.
thing. But that was a good one. We did talk about sci-fi dine-in. Another...
that wasn't even really on my list, but
it's not. But
it's
one that I think if you're going to Hollywood studios, somebody's going to ask about it. Sci-fi is kind of famous for it's what it is. It's a drive-in theater, basically. Not that you actually drive in, but you sit in booths that are made to look like old Chevy, 57 Chevys or whatever car that floats your boat. And
you sit
it's dark
2 and 2,
yeah,
folks.
2 and 2.
So that like if you have 4 people,
you can make it 3 and 2 if it's a small child.
Yeah,
I think that's how we did it
with the kids.
Wyatt.
We did
when
with
Wyatt
them when they were little.
So
you do have to transfer, folks. The only handicap area is in the back, and it's more of like tables,
like picnic tables.
Yeah, they don't really have the access.
It's still themed like an old drive-in, so that you have the picnic table area more often.
Yeah.
It's pretty much burgers, fries. I mean, there's a little bit more to it, but it's not. You don't go in there for the food unless you like that kind of food.
It's the experience.
It's the experience, and you watch old sci-fi previews, basically.
Yeah, for the young viewers that may be here, your science fiction stuff. I know there's not a whole lot of that at this point in time. You kind of have to.
You go out looking at, especially if you were raised with Star Wars and Star Trek, and then, I mean, if you're our age, you go, oh, that's how they remember how they used to do it. And you could still see the line, the cable coming down to where they're flying through. Nowadays, it's so CGI that
this is like an old movie film.
This is
my mom
would have
seen some of these.
Okay,
movies. There were cereals.
There are a couple of other. Did you have any more table service?
I had the Roundup Rodeo Barbecue, which we have not had.
I've had that as one of my honorable mentions because of that
we really want to go there.
We have a feeling it's going to be up there.
Right, we do. And the atmosphere you are in. Imagine Andy designed the whole place, and he's having his toys,
just like,
and you're part of the toys.
Toy Story Land.
You're doing that on the inside of there. So, and as he said earlier, if Andy's coming, you're not going to fall on the ground like everybody else would. You're going to hear that, but you're going to freeze where you're
supposed to freeze, and they really do, and they warn you ahead of time. I mean, like, if you hear Andy's coming, you freeze, and they pipe it over, So, and you just
the cast I think they kind of make that place, and of course barbecue. How can you go wrong?
It's family style where they bring it to your table and you eat all you want and stuff, and they keep on bringing it until you say no. I had that on there. I had it like in an honorable mention because I've never eaten there.
Well, some of the ones you have, I don't remember eating it. I know we did.
Hollywood and Vine.
Not good.
But it's the only character.
The characters?
Area.
Good.
Yeah.
The rest of it, not so much.
Breakfast, the characters are Disney Junior, Disney preschool Disney. And then in the evening, it's more Mickey, Minnie. It's Minnie's seasonal extravaganza. At Christmas time, they're all in Christmas stuff. At Halloween, they're in their costumes.
Yeah.
Spring and fall, or spring and summer, they're in different outfits.
The food
is not something that I would want to eat too often.
No, it's very, again.
Excuse me. I think it's still well, I shouldn't say still buffet. It used to be a buffet, then it wasn't because of COVID, and now I think it's back to buffet.
It's just very plain food, and you can get I could go to another restaurant.
I will tell you, if I really want to eat a good character buffet, I would go to Animal Kingdom and eat at Tusker House all the time. If that was what I wanted.
I would even go to Chef Mickey's quicker than that.
I would go to Chef
Mickey's
quicker, but I think Tusker House is my favorite for that type of food.
Yeah.
And that type of thing. And they have more of a selection.
Right.
But we're not at Animal Kingdom. We're not at Magic Kingdom. We're not at the Contemporary. We're at Hollywood Studios. Mama Melrose, Ristorante Italiano.
It is heavy Italian.
Heavy Italian.
Spaghetti, meatballs.
A lot of people have that good. And as I said, the DFB had it at 2. I would not have had it 2. They do have a little caution in the cons. It's not something you want to eat and then go and walk 20,000 steps.
Or ride a roller coaster. Don't go to Slinky Dog Dash after you've had it, because you probably ain't going to keep it down.
You're going to probably want a nap. So then you go after Mama Melrose, you go into Muppets 3D Vision and go.
And take a nap. There you go. No, I'm kidding.
Or Frozen
But
Sea World.
It is. It's very, very heavy. I remember there were spaghetti and meatballs on that list, and I went. That just seems very hot.
They have a lot of fettuccine, a lot of that.
Yeah.
And they had really. It was just one of those things. Okay, now, with that said, let's go over to quick service.
Quick service, I don't really have a whole lot of favorites, because the quick service choices are just and so some of the quick service stuff, and some of it's going to be a mix of his and mine too, because some of it are okay. Like down the area, there's a Sunshine. I'm not sure if it's called Sunshine Terrace, but there's an area there. Like, you can get a Dole Whip. If I'm going to go and stop and get a Dole Whip to cool off, I'll go there. But, like, to sit and eat outside with no fan and in the heat, I'm not really big on this quick service. So, there's not a whole lot. My only quick service that I really remember experiencing and really enjoy, or even semi-enjoying, and it's because it was inside, was Pizza Rizzo's. Now, it's very typical, plain, you got your cheese pepperoni pizza slice or little mini pie kind of thing. And so it's not like fancy food or great food. I think they were eating some chicken strips. Some of the kids that were with us got some chicken strips. But it does cool you off. It is in more of an industrial, like, building look. And so there's lots of fans blowing, and it does cool you down, and it makes you feel a little better. And it is, again, backed by the Muppet 3D. So it kind of gives you that chance of relaxing a little. If you kind of want to go to that corner, there's a lot of little details around that area. So kind of keep an eye out. You'll see that Rizzo and his buddies have even written some notes letting you know about the area, like where his office is. I say office because it says Da Boss. And so it's very typical for the Muppets Rizzo to have kind of created his own corner. If you haven't watched the Muppets recently, Rizzo's one of my favorites right now. He's hilarious. One of my favorites. That's my choice for quick service.
And I'm going to go, my favorite quick service is Ronto Roasters. It would be, it's in Galaxy's Edge and or Star Wars Land, depending on
who you are.
It's the home of the Ronto Wrap, and they have it they have a vegan option, and they also have kind of a lunch and dinner option, and then you had a breakfast option, and it would be the place that I would like. It's one of those places I like to go if I haven't had breakfast yet. And I want to go all the way back to Galaxy's Edge. I would go there to eat one of those and then wait to go ride Rise of the Resistance. But we'll talk about that next week. Other than that, I'm kind of like her. There's not too many
not a
things.
ton of them.
I will tell you, the DFB guide ranks them like this, and we're going 5 through 1. ABC Commissary. The only thing I would say about going to the ABC Commissary is that you can cool off a little bit.
And it does have an area, we were talking about the DAS earlier. Mm-hmm. There's a walkway there that everybody says it's a little calming because it's kind of sheltered and enclosed a bit.
You're enclosed,
so you get a little bit more of a calming feel. So,
Woody's Lunchbox is their number 4.
He said, Dan, not.
Good mix of sweet and savory options for both breakfast and lunch/dinner.
Okay.
They do have tachos.
A lot of people are into tachos right now.
Then they have Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo.
I've heard that that's actually very good.
It's I don't know if I've even.
Is that the one that? I think that's the one. What's it? Where does it say it is?
It's in Galaxy's Edge.
Is that the one where you can go in and you go up and order? I think it is. And there's like it's a cooling off area too because they have a lot of cave-like feel there because of the way the whole, your Star Wars, you're going into that kind of thing.
So. They have for number 2 what I had is from number 1, and that's Rancho Roasters.
What was their first one?
And that's what I'm going to get to. Backlot Express.
People.
It's been a while since we.
Yeah, I mean we ate there when the kids were little.
And I want to tell you what they say is their reasons why. Pros are that it's best for picky eaters. So my guess is
it is very simple things.
It's food here isn't mind-blowing. It's mostly burgers, sandwiches, and salads, but most everything is pretty good. Okay. Now, again, I don't always agree with DFB. I'm not saying that I wouldn't eat here.
Yeah, she and I
it does have, and I will agree with her, or whoever's writing this, is that it does have a lot of dining room seating. So it's an easy place to go in. It's not fully indoors and it's not fully outdoors. Okay.
Yeah.
It does have some cons. It's not the best if you're tired of typical theme park fare. Way better burgers in Disney World for you to choose from, which there are. And though we do love that Wookiee cookie dessert, options are otherwise.
I was going to tell you, her and I don't always agree with desserts either, so that kind of makes the difference with this group because the DFB group likes a lot of icing. I'm not a heavy icing eater, so if you're looking for something with a little less icing, you may want to go with my pick, or a little less gooey, kind of messy, because that's not something I'm going to choose.
Now, again.
So what would your choice then for snacks be?
That's what we're going to get to. It's hard because...
they kind of ruined your... No, I'm kidding. No, I said honestly... Most of the time, and I have it for breakfast too, but sometimes we talked about the Trolley Car Cafe, which is Starbucks in another name. But it's kind of nice in the fact that they have a little bit nicer snack food. You can get things like carrots and celery and dip. You can get things like an egg sandwich for breakfast in the morning. You don't like that idea. But, and then they have like your cinnamon rolls and that kind of thing. But they also have a lot of refreshers and so they're ready for all through the day. It's not just your typical sweet stuff.
Did you mention that it is Starbucks?
Yes.
Okay. It is Starbucks. So guess what? There's going to be a line.
Yeah, and people say, well, there's nowhere to sit. There is Outback, folks.
There's some seats at Outback, which isn't too bad as long as you don't have somebody who has to have the shade.
Well, and down the way also is you had the Sunshine Terrace area or the Sunshine area, and so that has a lot of seating, a lot of picnic bench seating.
Yeah, it does, and you can go in there. And I'm looking again at the Sunshine Terrace thing. There's Sunshine Terrace. It's not. There's Rosie's All American There's Sunshine. I don't know that there's a few things right there, but it's all along Sunset Boulevard, which is going towards Tower Terror and then Rock and Roller Coaster and stuff. So, with that said, that is an area down there. I would have to say.
What did you say for snacks?
Baseline Tap House is something I've never really been to, but I'm curious. Not necessarily for snacks, but desserts or just a place to get off the main and just kind of sit and
sometimes
relax.
If you want to, some people, you get a whole drinking around the world idea, and some people like to go to Baseline for a beer or wine. The other thing, with him mentioning that, Oga's Cantina also has a lot of fun drinks. They're alcohol drinks and non-alcohol drinks.
Fuzzy Tauntaun.
Their Fuzzy Tauntaun has a little foam on the top, and that foam actually makes your tongue and mouth numb. Mm-hmm. So don't panic if you drink it and think, wow, that was different.
Think of Pop Rocks.
Yeah, kind of a Pop Rock. Well, kind of. It even has a number feeling than that. It's really weird because the end of your tongue is completely numb, and you're like,
you didn't eat Pop Rocks like I did.
And then, I said, and I laugh because it reminds me of being at the dentist's for a little bit there, and you're like, this is weird. Yeah. But it was kind of fun, and there were a couple snacks there. There wasn't a whole lot snack-wise, but it is a good place to get out of the sun.
Baseline, on the other hand, has pretzels. I think they even have a charcuterie board.
Yeah.
So does Oga's.
Oga's does too.
Those are some things. I'll be honest with you. Disney's Hollywood Studios, although it does have some very good places to eat. Brown Dairy, excellent. Mm-hmm. And I like Primetime, 50s Primetime Cafe and a few other. Food's not really what I'm thinking about. Now, there are some like little areas. Galaxy's Edge has a little popcorn stand that you can get. It's called Katsaka's Kettle, and you get really popcorn, good. And you have like your regular popcorn, and then you have kind of a mixture of
kind of your sweet and
savory type popcorn that I might have to try the next time I'm there.
And that's in Galaxy's Edge, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I told him, I said, honestly, there's also a milk cart that's there, and the milk is the blue and green milk, and it's kind of, I would describe it as, you've got milk, but it's like fruity and milk together. So it's sort of like you had your cereal, and it's what's left after your Fruit Loops. That's what it sort of tastes like, but cold. Which, turned some people off. It did not bother me. I liked it okay. I don't know that I'd have it every day, but it's kind of fun to at least try. So I think there's a lot of... Oh, looking at the popcorn. He had to check on that.
Well,
popcorn.
I just want to... they have... it's called Katsaka's Kettle. It's a divisive little snack stand in Batu, or Galaxy's Edge. This stand serves 2 different kinds of popcorn. Buttered blue grains... Blue-colored buttered popcorn. It's blue, but it's buttered popcorn, and the Outpost popcorn mix. Now, the Outpost mix is a fairly strange combination of sweet and spicy flavors. It says it's not definitely for everyone.
Again, there's a few things like that.
Now,
like
the buttered
milk
popcorn was really good,
way.
and I had the buttered popcorn once. I haven't had
I think you gotta be open to trying some new things when you're going to Star Wars. You gotta be expecting to kind of play with your food a little bit. Be willing to kind of to chance it and do. It's okay to bypass something. Some people have allergies to things. Like you have an allergy to peppers. I will tell you one thing: the Fuzzy Tauntaun may not be for you. Because of the spice or the fuzz that's on it, you may ask for that to be removed, or you may even have they do have other drinks besides that. They have fun little You know, you got your ice cube that glows or your straw that's kind of fun. So, ask.
And also in Galaxy's Edge, in the, like, you go and buy it, you say, oh, I want a Diet Coke or I want something like that. You get it, but they also have them in, like, little round...
with funky writing. You can't...
Yeah, it looks like...
It's supposed to
it
be
looks
Coke.
like an old grenade. But
It
and
does.
they're cool, and you get them, and I don't have any of them there, because usually by the time you get done drinking, you're going like, do I really want to carry this around all day?
Yeah.
Someday I'll bring one back and I'll show it to you.
But,
But with that, it is time for us to say adieu
for the DisneyDuo.
for the DisneyDuo. Pete, Jewel, remember, letmeplan@gmail.com, and I can help you plan your next trip to Walt Disney World and book it and get it
And who
ready.
knows? There might be some pixie dust included in that.
Ooh,
I know.
But it's Let Pete Plan, all one word, all lowercase, at gmail.com. And this is Jewel.
And it's Jewel, Jule, .style.tome.com.
Right. And we are looking forward to possibly seeing you in the parks, but we're wishing you a magical day.